All right, so I received the Holley Terminator X Max kit in the mail today. Comes with the transmission control, that's the one that I got. And I'm starting to put the harness together and just make sure all of the connections that I have match up with the sensors that are on the engine. And run into two issues so far. First issue is the ignition coil harness. The ignition coil harness is not on the engine that I have. It didn't come with the engine that I have, so I don't have an ignition coil harness per se right now. And that apparently is like the one thing that does not come in this Holley Terminator X kit or the Holley Terminator X Max kit. So I'm going to need to buy the ignition coil harness to match up with this. So that's kind of a bummer. I was kind of thinking that this harness came with basically everything that you needed to get this engine up and running, and it does not. So I've got the coil packs, but I don't have the harnesses that go with them. And I have a huge wiring harness from the stock truck that I went through all of the mess that's in here that came off of it. And I also do not have the ignition coil harness on that either. So I'm kind of left with ordering that. Looks like they're like 130 to somewhere in the $130 range. The Holley one I saw was 130, and then I saw there was one on Summit Racing that they were selling for like 100. The other thing that I ran into is I've got these two oil pressure sensors. The bigger one on the left is the part that they gave me from a 2500 Silverado with the 6.0 gas motor, which is what this is. So I figured that this would be what came with it, and it has like the one pin in there. So this is what I put in the engine and was, hoping that it was going to work. Apparently and then this is one that came with the engine when I bought it, just like in a big box of parts. I didn't know if this was from a different engine or from this one. So I just kept it just in case and went to try one of those out with the supplied harness here, and neither one of them seems to work. So it looks like, let me find it here. All right, so this sensor is the oil sensor. Looks very similar to the small guy here, but they're a little different, and it will not go in. So, I guess I'm gonna need one of those. I did order a couple of the 100 psi transducers because it seems like that's what everybody's using online for like fuel pressure and all that kind of stuff. So I did order a couple of those. I was not planning on using one of those for oil pressure though. So that's kind of a surprise. Wasn't really expecting that. Otherwise, that's as far as I've got so far. I haven't started wiring up the power or anything like that. This is 6.0 LS engine with the sloppy stage 2 cam, Pac 1218 valve springs that are going in this 72 C10. The C10 has been sitting at my uncle's farm for, the last 10 years or so, and when I was younger, we always used to mess around with it, climb in the back and checked it out and looked at it. Always thought it was a cool truck. So when I had the opportunity to pick it up, I decided let's do it. Let's put an LS in this thing, try to make it fairly reliable, but still yet, fun to drive. Something that can be fun and reliable and not break the bank. I did cut out a piece of the upper radiator support to get the engine and transmission in there because I don't have a load leveler for my engine hoist. But once I cut that upper support off, made it real easy to get the engine and transmission to slide right in that area. I've got a couple different welders that I can use to put that piece back on there. I could TIG it, or I could just make it back in place and call it good. So that's kind of the plan eventually, to put that radiator support back in there. I do have the factory gas tank that goes in the cab of the truck. It's looking like it might be a little too rusty to use it though, so I'm not sure if I'm going to use that or not, but I've got it. It's an option. Inside the truck here, see if I can get this to focus. So inside the truck here is pretty much stripped. Took the seats out, got the seat brackets there. I've got a 2-gallon fuel cell that was used for a nitrous system before that I'll probably just be able to use to get this thing started if I don't want to use that factory gas tank. I haven't thought about the gauges too much yet. Probably not going to be able to use any of the gauges with the Holley system, but who knows? Once I get it running and driving, might have some more time to mess around with that kind of stuff. There's a decent little rust spot here inside the cab of the truck that eventually will get fixed, but not too worried about all the little bits and pieces quite yet. Just trying to get this thing running and driving and moving under its own power, and then start tackling all the little stuff and see how that goes. But yeah, I'm not really sure how I feel about this Holley Terminator X kit yet. I thought it was going to be more of a standalone kit, but it's turning out to be missing a few pieces already that I would consider, as like a requirement. It's not like I can really do much without this ignition coil harness. If you're upgrading a system that you already have, maybe you already have the ignition coil harness, but for me, since I'm starting from scratch and this thing came out of a junkyard, this engine at some point came out of a junkyard and got rebuilt, put back together, that's not a piece that I had. So I guess that's kind of where that leaves me at right now. I do have the intake manifold gaskets that need to go on. So I've got the intake manifold gaskets that are going to go on next. Got these guys here. Then the intake manifold is going to go on. I'm just doing the drive-by cable system for now. I do have a drive-by-wire throttle body and a gas pedal from a drive-by-wire vehicle. So if I ever wanted to upgrade that down the line and buy the harness for it, that's something that I could do. But for now, I'm just going to throw this in, try to keep it simple, use the drive-by cable system and get it running and driving, and then worry about that stuff later on. So thoughts are, get this intake manifold on. I'll have to look into the ignition coil harness. That's probably going to set me back some time. I originally ordered this Terminator X Max back in March 26th is when I had originally ordered it directly from Holley. And they had an expected ship date of April 2nd. And they pushed that back to like April 8th. And then they pushed it again to April 12th. And then they pushed it back to like April 22nd. So when they pushed it back to April 22nd, I called Jegs and talked to a guy at Jegs and asked if they had any in stock that they'd be able to, drop ship or ship the next day or whatever, since they had guaranteed 24-hour shipping on their website. When I talked to Jegs, the guy said that, yeah, we could definitely do that. We'll ship you one out. It'll drop ship from the manufacturer. I showed that they've got a couple on hand that are ours. They're spoken for. The Jegs basically owns them. Holley inventories them, and then when Jegs sells them, they ship from Holley directly. So I said, all right, let's do it. Let's go ahead and place the order with Jegs. They had like that $100 off coupon, but with tax and everything, I only ended up saving like $25 over Holley, so that wasn't really a factor. It was just the fact that I could get it. I think this was on like April 15th or something. So I did that, and then 3 days later, I get a notification from Jegs saying that the ship date has been pushed back to like May 22nd. So at that point, I was like furious. Like, what the hell? Why did the guy tell me that they had them in stock, that they were going to drop ship them if they didn't? And after I placed the order with Jegs, I called Holley, a couple hours later on April 15th and canceled my original order with Holley. Thinking in retrospect, I probably should have kept both orders going, and then whoever gets it to me first is the one that, I keep, and I could have either resold the second one or, canceled the second order when I get the first one. So then Jegs pushed my order date or my ship date back to May 22nd. So I guess they must have gotten some extra inventory in, because Holley did drop ship it on May 2nd directly to me, and I got this yesterday, I got it what is today? Today's the 6th, May 6th. I got it on May 3rd. So that's kind of where things are at right now. I guess I'll have to do some research online and see what people are using for ignition coil harnesses. I would imagine that they're all the same, but if there are any better or worse ones, I want to find one that's not going to have compatibility issues or dependability stuff. So, but yeah, if you got any questions on the Terminator X Max kits or anything, leave a comment down below, and I'll check the comments and get back to you guys.